In this video, I'm gonna rank every single mythic melee weapon in Fortnite history from worst to best. Several months ago, I made a video about ranking every single melee weapon, and I just got a comment the other day that said to rank every single mythic melee weapon. I thought that was a great idea, so thank you for commenting that. And that's exactly what we're gonna do today, guys. And I only have one caveat here in the beginning of this video. There will be no Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet. It was technically an LTM, more like a limited time mashup. You know, just too much gray line there, so I'm leaving it out of this list. Everything else, though, if it is a mythic and you can also melee with it, it will be on this list. And if you're going to enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a like. Be sure to hit that subscribe button as we are on our way to 100,000 subscribers. Be sure to use code TYFRYZ in the Fortnite item shop as always. And yeah, let's get right into this. At number 13 in dead last is the Ambient Sniper Rifle. And yes, while at its core it is a sniper rifle, it does have a melee ability that a lot of people actually tend to forget about. But, you know, that's for a good reason. It is absolutely horrible as a melee weapon. You should never even think about using this thing as a melee weapon, and it easily secures the last spot on this list. But I think a little bit more of a controversial opinion at number 12 is the Sideways Scythe. Now, a lot of people seem to really like this melee weapon, and a lot of people actually forget that you would get Siphon from killing people using this. So you're thinking, you know, you get Siphon from it. It's a melee weapon, so you're obviously going to be taking a lot of damage, so that's good. So what's wrong here, right? The melee actual attack itself is so slow. Like, the combo from one attack to another is just, I mean, the guy just like loads up this massive scythe and it takes forever to swing and hit. Now, I will say, like, you do get a tad bit of mobility here, but there are so many items on this list where you get great mobility and you get great quick attacks that do a lot of damage, and so naturally the Sideways Scythe just kind of falls to the bottom, but I do foresee this being a controversial pick. At my number 11 spot is the Howler Claws. This was introduced in chapter 3 as part of the FORTNITE event that chapter, and you know, it's really nothing to write home about. I will say the one super unique thing about the Howler Claws that separates it from basically every other melee weapon is you do get the reveal ability where, you know, your character will almost like, you know, turn into a werewolf basically and howl and then reveal everybody around you. That is very good and extremely helpful when you're using a melee weapon. But to be quite honest with you guys, the Howler Claws, like, the damage is just not there. And you'll see in the gameplay, like, you can get somebody up to, you know, 150, 160 damage, but you just won't be able to finish them off at the end. And yeah, you know, that's not really good. Moving on to number 10, I've got the Wolverine Claws from Chapter 2, Season 4, and it seems like every single time I talk about the Wolverine Claws in a video, I kind of forget that you actually could regain health while using them, which is obviously a really good and unique ability. You also get decent mobility. I'm not going to say great mobility or even good mobility. It's decent, but it's at the trade-off of really solid damage. Look, like, I hate to say this, and honestly, some of you guys always think it's controversial that I kind of factor in how hard it was to actually get the item into its ranking, and that's the problem with Wolverine's Claws. It's just so difficult to get. I mean, Wolverine just eats bullets. Like, I don't know that I'll show it in the gameplay because it just takes too long to show him eating like 700 damage. I'm telling you guys, he was so hard to kill, and if you didn't finish him in like 5 seconds, he would just revive himself and you'd have to do it all over again. I hate that you had to do that to get these claws, but if you went through the whole process of doing that, you know, I guess you were decently rewarded with this item. Sticking around in Chapter 2, Season 4 at my number 9 spot, I've got She-Hulk's Fist, and I will say this is at the point in the list where the items start to become, you know, considerably better. Melee weapons that I would say, you know, you see them on the ground, I would definitely take them to, you know, do the 40, 50, 60 damage to finish off an opponent. I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure the combination of 3 different attacks from She-Hulk's Fist can actually do 200 damage to somebody, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, the fact that you can just eviscerate 200 health from somebody in like 2 or 3 seconds. Honestly, I would probably go out on a limb and say that She-Hulk's Fists are one of the more underrated melee items we've ever seen. I really don't have that many complaints with She-Hulk's Fist. I just wish there was better mobility with it, but again, this was at a time in Fortnite when melee items just didn't have crazy mobility, but you will see higher on this list that has changed a ton in just, you know, a couple of years in Fortnite. At number 8 is the most recent entry onto this list from Chapter 6, Season 1. It is the Typhoon Blade, and again, I think this is another item that's going to cause a stir in the comment section. I always see some people that talk about how much they love this and how good this item is when it's used in the right way, and then the other half of people, the side that I am on, will say the Typhoon Blade is really underwhelming, and just to tell Epic Games to stop making samurai swords because nothing is ever going to be as good as the kinetic blade. Look, like I do see where the vision is here with the Typhoon Blade, and you will see in the gameplay, you can definitely outplay players if you are a really good player with this weapon. Like, if you know how to use it effectively, you can put in some serious work with the Typhoon Blade. And I'm just going to say one thing: if you get into somebody's box with the Typhoon Blade, you trap them in a corner, you are going to eviscerate them. You know, like, my thing is, I just can't help but feel so underwhelmed by the Typhoon Blade. Like I said earlier, nothing is going to be better in terms of samurai swords than the kinetic blade will be. It's really just that simple in my mind. Anyways, moving on to number 7, we've got lightsabers, and I'll be honest with you guys, I did not feel like putting every single chapter 4 lightsaber on this list. There were a ton, and so I just took the chapter 4 lightsabers, the regular lightsabers, put them all in this spot together as just the overall umbrella of lightsabers. You know, the regular lightsabers in chapter 2 are pretty strong. I mean, the fact that you can stop bullets is so good for a melee item. You know, I don't think, to my knowledge, any other item on this list can do that, and that protects you a ton of the time, because one of the most risky things about using a melee weapon is, you know, getting caught in the open and not really being able to do anything about it. You also have some really cool, like, side jumps, so you actually are a really difficult target to hit when using these lightsabers, and they got a whole lot better in chapter 4 when you could start, you know, picking up pieces of the ground and throwing it at people and doing all this crazy stuff. Lightsabers in general are a super cool Fortnite item, and guys, let me know if you want me to rank every single Star Wars item, because I think that would be a great idea, and if there's enough love in the comment section for that video idea, I'll do it for you guys. At number 6, I've got the TMNT Mythics from chapter 5. Now, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Mythics all do the same thing. They function identically. They are all just, you know, different in the way that they look, but the way they function is exactly the same, so it makes sense to keep them all in one spot. You can very clearly tell where the inspiration for these items came from. It very clearly came from the kinetic blade. You get 3 charges, it's a little dash effect, and you go flying up in the air. Again, like, this is another one of those items, right, where if you get caught in a box with somebody who is using them, you are absolutely done for. The fact that you get such great mobility, some of the best mobility ever for a melee weapon, you can just follow people wherever you want. You can use them as a utility item, you know, go flying in the air, maybe switch to your shotgun and thunder pump somebody. You know, I really don't have a lot bad to say about the TMNT Mythics. My only problem is Thorn's Vampiric Blade just does everything better. So, you know, realistically, how much higher could I put these items? I really just love how quick everything is, how quick you can go from dash to melee to chain the melee attacks together. And honestly, these are some really, really good melee options. Some of the best we've ever seen in Fortnite history. At number 5, I have ODM gear. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is probably the hottest take I've made in a Fortnite video in quite a long time. Anytime ODM gear is on a list, it is guaranteed within the top 3. This is one of my favorite Fortnite items of all time, and honestly, I would go on record and say this is one of the Fortnite community's favorite items ever. It's just so beloved by the community. So you might be saying, you know, you're gassing it up like crazy. Why is it at the number 5 spot? Because honestly, this is the lowest I've ever ranked ODM gear. Well, you know, you have to take into consideration the melee effect, right? At the end of the day, this whole video is about the melee aspect. Of course, I do factor in mobility, and of course, ODM gear shines in that regard. But in terms of its melee ability, I actually think the ODM gear is kind of weak. It just functions kind of weird. Like, it's really clunky. You have to be kind of swinging around, and then you kind of lock onto them, and you go flying towards them. You tap them once, and your character goes flying backwards. You really can't chain the attacks together too fast. You leave yourself really, really vulnerable. And of course, this item makes up for its lack of, you know, melee power with how good the mobility is. I totally get that. But as a, you know, pure melee item, the ODM gear isn't really anything special in my opinion. It is a great item, but guys, I think there are 4 mythic melee weapons that are better. At that number 4 spot is going to be Megalodon's Nitro Fist from Chapter 5 Season 3. And if I was talking about the pre-nerf Nitro Fist, the ones on launch, this could potentially be the number 1 spot. Just so absolutely broken. I know it was more of like a nitro problem in general, but there was no cooldown at all, so you were just slamming your fist over and over and over again. There was no cooldown, no slowdown, and you could just bully yourself into anybody's box, and it was horrible. It was so broken. I remember vividly, like it's like scarred into my brain, the launch of Chapter 5 Season 3. I mean, there were so many things broken in that season, but especially the Nitro Fist were just off the charts overpowered. Now, it's not so much like that, but still, you obviously have a really solid melee weapon here. Or should I say, on your hands. You guys see what I did there? It just excels in every single aspect. It's everything you would want in a melee weapon. Again, you're going to see it with the next 3 coming up ahead of it. They all do the same thing so well. They have a ton of damage, very quick abilities, and very quick mobility so that it is hard to hit you. Again, like honestly, in terms of melee weapons, it's very hard for me to find something about the Nitro Fist to complain about. out. But I gotta be honest with you, I think Thorn's Vampiric Blade at the number 3 spot is better. So like, what a cool idea for a Fortnite weapon. If you guys don't know how it works, every time that you slash, you melee, you hit somebody with this item, you essentially steal their health. You siphon their health and shield into yours. How cool is that? Obviously, it's playing into the idea of it being a vampire item. Obviously, you know, you're not stealing all of it. You're not stealing, you know, 60, 70 damage. You steal, I believe it was 20% of the damage you do is siphoned into health or shield. So the dash will siphon 12, and then the slash attack will siphon 14 in total. That is 7 per swing, and that's a really cool ability. Now, realistically, you know, how many people were using the Mythic Kinetic Blade for its melee ability? You know, I'm not really sure. For me, I was using it strictly as a mobility item because it is one of the best mobility items of all time. But you can't understate, you know, how cool that ability is and how really good it is. I mean, you're doing 70 damage. You know, you've heard me glaze the Kinetic Blade all throughout this video, so, you know, it shouldn't be a surprise to you guys that it is so high up on this list. At my number 2 spot is going to be another Chapter 4 item. It is the Ageless Champions Shockwave Hammer, and I'm so excited to finally talk about the Shockwave Hammer. I haven't talked about this weapon in, it feels like months, honestly, in a video. For some reason, it just never comes up. It is such a cool, unique, creative, like, just, it ticks every single box for a Fortnite item. It is fun, it is overpowered, it is cool looking, it sounds cool, like, everything about it is just so cool. Now, I will say, like, before I was recording this video, I was surfing the web for Mythic Shockwave Hammer footage, and there really just wasn't any that I was happy with, so you're gonna be watching these replays use all just regular purple Shockwave Hammers. Now, of course, they function identically to the Mythic version, just the Mythic version has 5 dashes, I believe it was, whereas the purple version has 3, but damage-wise, everything they are exactly the same. The exploit with the Shockwave Hammer where you could like drop it out of your inventory, I actually think you'll see replays in the video, you know, do that, where instead of getting that super long animation where you swing and you're stuck in the ground, you can actually pull it out of your inventory and it will totally cancel that out, which made the Shockwave Hammer even more broken than it was supposed to be. This is one of the most fun items in Fortnite history, and I beg at some point, I know it's back in Reload, but in public matches, can we please get the Shockwave Hammer back? Chapter 4 Season 1 was a fever dream, and that was mainly due to this weapon. But it doesn't come anywhere close. None of the items on this list come anywhere close to our number 1 spot today, guys. It is the Infinity Blade. Yes, does it feel a little cheesy to add it on this list? You know, I guess so, but it was in your public Fortnite lobbies for a couple of weeks. It is a mythic, it is a melee weapon, so by all those standards, it deserves to be on this list, and it blows everything else out of the water, guys. Like, remember, like, there was a point where we were ranking the Amban Sniper Rifle's melee ability, and now here we are ranking the Infinity Blade. It's kind of funny if you think about it. I don't even need to explain myself. I'm really not going to go on a tangent about how brokenly stupid overpowered this was, why they put this in the game before a $2 million Fortnite tournament. Just so ridiculous, tore up that whole tournament, ruined it for everybody, and the gameplay will just show. I mean, if you get your hands on this thing, you are essentially gifted a win. I don't know that there's ever been an item this overpowered in a public Fortnite match, and to be honest with you, there probably never will be. I'm assuming you guys watching this video knew it would be at the number 1 pick, and so yeah, here it is, number 1, the best mythic melee weapon of all time. It is the Infinity Blade. All right, guys, well, I really hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you so much for all the support on my recent videos. You guys have been going crazy lately, and so thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoy content like this. I upload almost every day, and of course, we are pushing towards that play button, towards 100,000 subscribers. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.